He thought he had won at life a beautiful new wife, a penthouse in Ikoyi, and a thriving business. But when David came home unannounced, the silence in his house told a different story. What he found inside the children's room broke his heart and changed his life forever. David Williams thought he had life finally figured out. At 42, he had a thriving tech consultancy based in Victoria Island, Lagos, a beautiful penthouse apartment in Ikoyi with a stunning view of the lagoon, and a new glamorous wife, Neka, who was everything his first wife, Ada, wasn't. Where Ada had been quiet and practical, Neka was the life of every party. Where Ada wore simple dresses and no makeup, Neka was a vision in designer labels and flawless contouring. When Ada, after years of a quiet, childless marriage he now deemed dull, had simply asked for a divorce, David felt relieved. He saw it as an upgrade. Trading in a sensible sedan for a flashy sports car, Neka was his trophy, and he was proud to show her off. The only complication was the twins. Ada had surprised everyone, most of all David, by getting pregnant just as their marriage was crumbling. She never asked him to stay. She raised the boy and girl Kene and Kachi on her own in a modest apartment in Surulere, while David built his empire and married Neka. He provided financial support, generous checks he signed with a flourish, believing money was his primary parental duty. When Ada died in a sudden tragic car accident a year ago, David was thrust into fatherhood. Neka was less than thrilled. "David, Baiko, we are not ready for this," she'd complained. "They are strangers, and they're 6 years old. So much work." But David saw a solution. He hired a live-in nanny, a stern, efficient woman named Gloria, and expected Neka to simply be the beautiful, charming stepmom who occasionally posed for photos with the children. He was too busy closing deals and traveling to notice the cold distance between his new wife and his children. He'd call home, and Neka would tell him everything was fine. "Gloria is handling them. They're fine, David. Stop worrying." This time, the business trip was to Cape Town. It was supposed to last 5 days, but the deal closed with unexpected ease, wrapping up in just 3. David, feeling triumphant and wanting to surprise his wife, decided to fly home a day early. He didn't call. He pictured Neka's delighted scream, a romantic evening on the terrace. He even bought her an expensive diamond necklace at the airport duty-free. He landed at Murtala Muhammad International Airport on a sweltering Thursday afternoon. The traffic from the airport to Ikoyi was its usual special kind of hell, but David was in a good mood. He finally pulled into the secure garage of his building, humming to himself as he rode the private elevator up to his penthouse. The first thing that struck him was the silence. The penthouse was usually a hub of noise, the TV blaring cartoons, Gloria shooing the kids, Neka on the phone laughing loudly, but now it was dead quiet. The only sound was the low hum of the air conditioner. "Neka, kids, I'm home," he called out, dropping his luggage by the door. No response. He walked through the expansive minimalist living room. It was spotless, but in a cold, unlived-in way. He checked the master bedroom. The bed was perfectly made. Neka's side of the closet looked. A knot of cold dread began to tighten in his stomach. He rushed to the children's room. The door was ajar. He pushed it open. The room was a mess, not a playful mess but a desperate one. Empty packets of biscuits and noodles were scattered on the floor. 2 juice boxes, sucked completely dry, lay by the bed. And in the middle of the large bed, huddled together under a single blanket, were Kene and Kachi. They were awake, but their eyes were wide with fear. When they saw him, they flinched. Kachi, his daughter, started to cry silently. "Kene, Kachi, where is everyone? Where is Gloria? Where is Neka?" David's voice was a panicked whisper. Kene, his small face pale and serious, pointed to a piece of paper tucked under a lamp on the bedside table. David's hand trembled as he picked it up. It was a note, scrawled in Neka's flamboyant handwriting. David, this is not the life I signed up for. I didn't marry you to become a mother to another woman's children. They are your responsibility, not mine. Gloria quit 2 days ago after I refused to give her a raise. I can't do this. I'm young, and I want a life of fun, not of wiping noses and breaking up fights. Don't try to find me. I've gone to stay with a friend in London. Consider this my exit. N. David read the note twice, the words blurring. 2 days ago, they had been alone for 2 days, 6-year-olds, in this massive, empty apartment. He sank to his knees beside the bed, the reality of the situation crashing down on him. He looked at his children, really looked at them. Their faces were smudged with dirt. They were still in their pajamas, which were stained. The room smelled faintly of urine and sweat. Have you eaten?" he asked, his voice cracking. Kene nodded slowly. "We finished the biscuits. And the water in the bathroom." David felt a wave of nausea so strong he thought he would vomit. The water in the bathroom. His children had been surviving on tap water and leftover snacks for 2 days. While he was in Cape Town, closing a deal, buying a diamond necklace for a woman who had abandoned them. He reached out to touch Kachi's hair, but she shrank back from him, burying her face in her brother's shoulder. They were terrified of him. They saw him as a stranger, which is exactly what he was. In that moment, the penthouse, the money, the successful business, it all turned to ash. The flashy sports car of his life had just careened off a cliff. He was not a successful man. He was a colossal failure. The next few hours were a blur of shame and frantic activity. He bathed the children, his hands clumsy and unfamiliar. He found clean clothes. He ordered food and watched with a heart shattered into a million pieces as they devoured plates of jollof rice and chicken, eating with a quiet, desperate hunger. As they slept, exhausted, in his bed that night, David did something he hadn't done in years. He broke down and wept. He cried for Ada, the good woman he had thrown away. He cried for the children he had neglected. He cried for his own stupidity. In the quiet of the night, his phone buzzed. It was a text from Neka. His heart leapt for a second, thinking it was an apology, a nightmare from which he could wake up. The message was simple. "By the way, I used your credit card to buy the ticket. I think it's the least you owe me. X." The sheer audacity, the coldness was a slap that finally woke him up. He deleted the message and blocked her number. The trophy wife was gone. All that was left was the wreckage he had created. The following days were the hardest of his life. He cancelled all his meetings. He learned to make breakfast. He learned that Kene was afraid of the dark and that Kachi had a fascination with ants. He learned that parenting wasn't about signing checks. It was about patience, about being present, about wiping away tears and celebrating the smallest victories. He was terrible at it. He burned the toast. He put Kachi's shoes on the wrong feet. He read bedtime stories with all the emotion of a newsreader, but he kept trying. One afternoon, while going through old files to find the twins' birth certificates for school enrollment, he found a small forgotten box of Ada's things. He'd told Neka to throw it all out, but apparently she hadn't. Inside, beneath some old photographs, was a journal. With a heavy heart he opened it. The entries were short, practical notes. But one entry, dated just a month before she died, stopped him cold. Keen asked about his father today. He asked why Daddy lives in a big house but we live in a small one. I told him that Daddy's house is made of bricks, but our house is made of love. I hope it's enough. I hope one day David realizes that the legacy you build with your hands means nothing if you have no one to share it with. My greatest success is not my job, it's these 2 little souls sleeping in the next room. David closed the journal, the truth of Ada's words searing into him. She had built a legacy of love. He had built a legacy of bricks and ego, and it had almost cost him everything. Today, David still runs his company, but he leaves the office at 3 p.m. sharp. The Ikoyi penthouse is sold. They now live in a smaller, warmer house in Ikeja GRA with a garden where the twins can play. The walls are covered not with expensive art, but with their drawings. Neka? She posts pictures of her glamorous life in London on Instagram. Sometimes mutual friends show David. He looks at them without a flicker of regret. She is a ghost from a life he no longer recognizes. The other day, Kachi fell and scraped her knee. She didn't cry for Gloria or for a mother she barely remembers. She ran, sobbing, straight into David's arms. As he held her, cleaning the cut with a tenderness he never knew he possessed, Kene stood by his side, handing him the plaster. "It's okay," Kene said, patting his sister's head. "Daddy is here." In that simple phrase, David found a success more profound than any business deal. He had come home unannounced to find his children abandoned, but in doing so, he had finally found his way home to himself. The man who thought he needed a trophy to be happy learned that the greatest treasures are often the ones you already have, waiting silently for you to finally see them. David learned too late that success without love is failure in disguise. His children didn't need his money, they needed him. And in their innocent words, "Daddy is here," he finally found the only legacy that truly matters. Never forget, the greatest treasures are not bought with wealth, but built with love.